We'll start, of course, with the NFL draft with the New Orleans Saints at number 9. When they were on the clock, they turned in the card, and this is how it sounded.
It felt great. I mean, it was awesome. Kind of like everybody always say, a dream come true. Just not.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. The Saints, they picked Kelvin Banks, 9th overall, offensive tackle out of Texas. When I sat in this chair on Thursday, and put yourself back in that moment, all the buzz was around Jackson Dart. And I sat here and I told you very simply, the Saints have so many needs, it's kind of hard for them to go wrong with what position that they were to pick at number 9. But the one thing I wanted them to do was, whether it was Jackson Dart or whether it was somebody else, was to be convicted in their choice, know this is the player they want, the player they fell in love with, and turn in the card and make the pick. And when you look at Kelvin Banks and everything that he can bring to the team and how it tracks with so many trends for the New Orleans Saints front office, with so many trends for Kellen Moore's offense, it's hard to look at this and say they weren't exactly that they were not in love with a guy like Kelvin Banks, and that was the move they were confident and convicted in making, and they made it. So in that regard, bravo. I love the pick in that regard. Again, the New Orleans Saints, now since the 2014 draft, have taken an offensive or defensive lineman in the first round every year. From 2015 through now this draft, offensive or defensive lineman in the first round every year. That is something this front office values, and it is something they feel very comfortable in doing. We could talk about the hit rate and whatnot, but it is something that they are very comfortable in doing. So I love that. Kellen Moore, throughout all of this, since he took the job, has talked about this being a trenches league and building inside out. And he did it again a night ago. This is number 2, Jordan, from Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore, the second question asked of him in the post-first round press conference was the decision to take an offensive line. This is what he said.
Yeah, certainly I love the opportunity. Again, this is a trenches game. This is a game that's won up front in a lot of ways, and obviously my background has been around that in a lot of places I've been, and certainly this place is invested in it, and we feel like we can continue to do that. And so we feel like we're building a strength in that offensive line. We got a ton of really good talent there, and we're really excited about that.
Reiterates a point he's made literally since day one on the job. It's a trenches league. He values it. He wants to build his team inside out. They were in lockstep. That's the other thing you ask for, right? Your head coach, your front office, your scouts, your GM, everyone to be in lockstep, and they were. So that's another check mark. And then you get into Kelvin Banks, the player. And y'all, there's a lot to love about Kelvin Banks. But first, here was Kelvin Banks right out the chute in his press conference on how it felt to get the call from New Orleans.
I mean, it was awesome. Kind of like everybody always say, a dream come true. Just not knowing where you're going to go, so being anxious, and then kind of once you feel your phone vibrating, you answer the phone, you hear the GM and the head coach talking to you. It's kind of a surreal moment. So it was very exciting for me.
The first thing you're going to hear anybody say with Kelvin Banks is the positional versatility that he brings to New Orleans. And that's why the pick made so much sense. But before we get there, a couple things outside of that I love so much about the Banks pick. Number 1, he started all 42 games that he played in at Texas for 3 years, out of a possible 43. That speaks to 2 things. 1, experience. 42 starts in 42 games at the SEC level at left tackle is nothing to sneeze at. That's nothing to shake a stick at. But what I think it points to even more, that I like even more than the experience, is the durability. Kelvin Banks missed 1 game in his entire career at Texas. It was the SEC championship this past season against Georgia. Remember, he injured his ankle in the game against Texas A&M, tried to re-enter the game, couldn't, and then missed the Georgia game in the championship, but was right back for the Clemson game in the college football playoff. When you look at the injuries the New Orleans Saints had a year ago, specifically on the offensive line, bringing in a guy with that type of durability, I love. So experience, durability. He's a great culture locker room guy. He was a 2-year team captain at Texas, his sophomore and junior years. Love that. The athleticism jumps off the chart. And look, we all love to laugh and poke fun at the Saints for their affinity, or really their just, straight up love for the relative athletic score. Kelvin Banks has a great one, though, 8.32. Who was the last great left tackle for the New Orleans Saints? It was Teron Armstead, and he was a freak athlete. Kelvin Banks falls into that mold as well. And because of that athleticism, that's where you can get more into the positional versatility that he provides. The Saints have a gaping hole at left guard. Adding Kelvin Banks gives you the ability to solve that issue in more ways than one. Kelvin Banks himself could play that spot. But I don't think that's the way that they go about this. And again, Kellen Moore, he was asked, obviously, and he said, look, we have plenty of time between, OTAs, rookie minicamp, training camp. You get to the preseason games, you'll get to the regular season, and they'll try guys in a bunch of different spots, and they'll see which best 5 they run out there. But Kelvin Banks immediately helps solve that problem. And that's another reason taking him at 9 is great. Because if you remember, the pushback, some of the pushback you hear on the Jackson Dart pick is it's a reach. You're overreach. You're gonna draft a guy in the top 10. You want him to immediately come in and play and immediately impact your team and make you better from day one. Kelvin Banks does that. You could play him at guard and keep your bookend tackles the same. You could move Trevor Penning to left guard and let Kelvin Banks play right tackle. What I think is the most likely and probably the scenario that fits the Saints best is to kick Trevor Penning down inside, let him play left guard, move Taliesin Fuanga back to right tackle, his college position where he's most comfortable, and then have Kelvin Banks be your starting left tackle from day one. You combine that with McCoy and Ruiz, provided everyone can stay healthy, and you do have a pretty good offensive line. And then there's how he fits into Kellen Moore's offense. Y'all, he's a phenomenal run blocker. He's a great pass blocker, but a phenomenal run blocker. And in Kellen Moore's offense, they want physicality. They want to be able to run the ball. So that's just another giant check mark on the Kelvin Banks draft. In terms of where he might play, Kelvin was asked, this is number 6, Jordan, does he have a preference on tackle or guard?
Yeah, I don't care, man. Like I said, if I'm the best 5 on the field and it's at guard, then that's what I'm playing. And answer your question, yes, I've been training almost every side. So what I'll do is in my training, I'll make sure I do right side sets and run block drills or different things like that, and I'll switch over to the left side and do that as well.
Doesn't have a preference. I mean, look, you love that answer. You love that energy. I don't care. I'll play wherever. I'm happy to be here. I'm going to help the team. That's absolutely the answer you expect from every draft pick. But what was awesome there is how he punctuated it, talked about he has been training at guard. So that's already been a possibility. Teams have talked to him about that. And he's already putting in the work. The other interesting thing, he was asked the last time he actually played right tackle.
Last time I probably played right tackle was like beginning of sophomore year of high school probably, but we do a little bit of like transitioning and practice at UT, so we would do a little bit of that. So it's not something that's unfamiliar to me.
That's why I will go back to what I think is the most likely combination and probably your best combination would be have him at left tackle, move Fuanga over to right where he played in college, and kick Penning down into guard. They do cross-training at Texas. That's great. The guy has not played. He never played a game in the SEC at right tackle. He told you, sophomore year of high school. That's a long time ago. That's a long time ago. But there is just a plethora of reasons to love the pick, and I think the Saints nailed it. When you look at all the talk surrounding quarterback and everything else that surrounded the Saints on Thursday leading in and all the anticipation from the pick, this is a guy that was at the top of their board. Kellen Moore mentioned that. He was at the top of their board at 9. Fills a need. Was one of the best available players. And continues a trend that this front office is very comfortable with. And again, That could be a good thing or a bad thing. I will acknowledge that. But ultimately, it's hard to look at this and say they weren't convicted, they weren't comfortable, they weren't sure of their selection. And that's really all I wanted from them. And you get a guy who won the Outland Trophy, who won the Lombardi Trophy, who shared the Jacobs Blocking Trophy with Will Campbell, and who, according to Matt Miller, is already drawing comps to an all-pro tackle in Rashawn Slater. That's the comp Matt Miller gave for Kelvin Banks. Slater, they're similar in size. Slater was taken with the 12th overall pick in his draft year, and his rookie season, he was a second-team All-Pro, and he's made 2 Pro Bowls since in 4 years. If that's what Kelvin Banks turns into, that's a franchise guy, and that's a cornerstone to what hopefully one day could be the next great era of Saints football. We'll see. There's a lot more needs to fill, and that will continue in day 2 and 3 of the draft. But so far, the Kelvin Banks pick, they've crushed the draft up to this point. Long way to go. We'll see how they finish out.
Hey, it's on. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.